All right, that is great. Now, Chio-chan's commute.
Yeah.
Name of the anime coming out right now. It is being simuldubbed, or it is dubbed.
Simuldub picked up by Funimation. They're about 3 weeks behind from the Crunchyroll releases.
Okay, Tom, my man with the plan. What do you think about this dub as our dubbing expert?
I think it does what a dub should.
And would continue, yeah.
So it's not a direct translation. So the way that Chio and her friend Manana talk to each other is like how you might imagine two teenagers talking to each other, giving each other shit. And
I'm almost interested to check out the dub just to compare them, because I've always found that dubbing comedy and anime is a fool's errand. Like, it's just really, really, really hard. It's already hard enough to subtitle it.
Yeah.
And you need notes.
I mean, Hinamatsuri did an okay job, I felt.
Well, the interesting thing about Hinamatsuri was that it wasn't language jokes in that. It was mostly like jokes through the action through the characters.
Yeah.
But Chio-chan's Cool Road makes a lot of puns. It does have a lot of Western jokes, which is good, like nice little video game references. So those go over well, but a lot of those language puns don't tend to land, and you just can't translate them. There's just no hope.
They don't try.
Yeah. That seems to be the call, too, because it always just comes down to, like, anytime it's a language thing, it ends up being a broken sentence that doesn't translate. So it just kind of seems like you're trying to, explain to somebody a sport they don't know the rules of or something like that. Like, it never adds up. I do like it when they just kind of say, fuck it, and sort of go with their own thing.
They do their Western equivalent joke instead of a one-for-one translation.
Yeah.
Or if it's bad enough, they just do the Ghost Stories way and just literally do your own thing. It doesn't matter what the actual original story was.
Well, I'm thinking of episode 3, Fully Cooley. Like, they had a throwaway line between two side characters about where Naota's father's e-zine was being sold in a printed version. And it was, in the Japanese version, oh yeah, it's this little store across by the railroad tracks. The one where they sell some clear Japanese soda.
Mm-hmm.
Unrecognizable to Western audiences. For the English dub, they didn't even try and go with that. They said, oh yeah, the one where they sell the Crystal Pepsi?
Yes.
I remember that, yeah.
And 2 years later, when Crystal Pepsi went out of sales, that sort of became a dated joke. And then 2 years ago, when Crystal Pepsi came back for a limited release, and coincidentally, Fooly Cooley was back in the news because they announced sequels, it became sort of like this revelation moment.
Yeah. How many?
Sorry, tangent.
No, a really good point, and an interesting thing about that dub. How many episodes in is Chio-chan's commute?
I think it's 8.
8 episodes in. So, and you said it was 3 behind the original?
Yeah, it's just about done in the sub run.
Cool. Are there any other comedies being... What other shows are getting dubs this season, actually, if we can just talk about that for a second?
None that are really stand out.
Oh, really?
Steins Gate's continuing, which is great.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Overlord's continuing. I have no problems with that whatsoever.
Is it being dubbed?
Oh, is it dubbed?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's simuldub, and I really like the voice acting in English.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You mentioned that earlier. You said you liked the... what do you like about it? Specifically, what charms?
The main character, Ainz, sometimes when you hear his inner monologue, it's just this... exactly what you'd think this MMO player guy who lives on the internet would sound like. He's just sort of happy-go-lucky, and he's not really intimidating. But then you see him interacting with all the other characters. He's got this deep bass, intimidating voice, and he's legitimately scaring the piss out of everyone. And with the voice actor they got, you can believe it. All the female characters don't sound like they're just talking really, really high, and they're annoying and screeching. They're actual, generally speaking, really good female voice actors in the studio.
And this, you're talking about a dub?
Yes.
And that's super annoying, I feel like, as I don't know as much depth about anime, but like when you're watching a show and it kind of gives out that childish vibe, it's like you want a little bit of depth to the character,
Yeah.
and that's why the voice acting is, I feel, important. But it's kind of, there's so many ways for things to get lost on the audience, you know.
For a long time, male voice acting has been pretty good, and female voice acting has been subpar. I think we're starting to see female voice acting come up to match the males' levels.
In the dubs, you mean?
It's
in
almost,
the dub.
Yeah.
Sub, I have no problems whatsoever.
Yeah, their dubs are really great.
I think with the dubs, it's almost like you get a producer who thinks they know what a weeboo wants to hear in a girl's voice, and then they put that out there. But it's kind of very stereotypical.
It doesn't translate.
Yeah, because you want some life to the person.
It also doesn't help that for the longest time there were like 6 female voice actresses in the whole studio. So it's just like, well, it's going to be Screechy Voice 1, Screechy Voice 2, Screechy Voice 3.
Yeah.
I remember specifically because it broke my heart so much. Wasn't this season, but when Yuri on Ice is like one of my favorite shows, and I like it. And I'd never seen the dub, and I had a friend that was like, "Yo, I want to watch that anime you said you like so much. Let's do this." And we watched the dub, and I didn't want to say anything because like that's not how you watch anime with new people. And like totally different show. It's like very much more so flamboyant, and like it's kind of a joke that everyone's gay instead of just everyone being gay, which is what I liked about Yuri on Ice. Is I was like, it's just a bunch of nonchalantness. So like instead of trying to be able to express yourself sexually and understanding your identity, being what Victor tells like Yuri when he's learning to skate. He tells him to impregnate him with the love and pork cutlets. I was like, man, I'm afraid to ever listen to a dub again.
Can I bring up a completely unrelated topic?
Go for it, my man.
So, as many of you know, one of my favorite anime is Habane Renmei, and a big cult hit in the States was Serial Experiments Lain.
Mm-hmm.
Yoshitoshi Abe is coming out with his first new anime in 15 years.
Oh, hey!
This next season. It's called like Rewrited, which is a very strange title. The subtitle is even stranger. It's like the time leap of Derrida. The main character is named Derrida, acting like the French philosopher.
Yeah.
It's basically about a time traveling guy named Derrida, and that's literally has at some point in the future Donald Trump voiced by Norio Wakamoto, which is going to be the most hilarious thing ever. Apparently, like they've already aired 2 episodes of it, like some pre-screening at a con. The review that I read of it was not very positive, but just for the novelty of the first thing from this guy in 15 years for a really loved director, seems like something worth checking out. Just for like to see how it goes, whether it's bad or good.
What's it called again?
Rewrited.
Rewrited.
Like RIDE, but yeah, it's a really strange title. But I'm very excited to see what it is. It's got the director from Steins Gate on it as well, so it's
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Ben? Are you watching anything this season? Anything catching your eye for next season?
The only thing that I'm looking forward to more than anything is Castlevania, and that shit looks sick as
yeah. Dude, I'm playing Castlevania 3 right now. Like I see that game and I'm like, man, this is everything. They don't know how into their demographic I be.
What I liked about that series, though, compared to a lot of what I watch, like that people show me, is that it was very kind of adult oriented, but those sword fighting scenes was like I was watching a Jedi sword fight battle or something like that. It was like an actual epic battle instead of maybe like Dragon Ball Z where they talk for 20 minutes about how they're powering up and then they finally fight for 2 seconds.
More commentary than battle.
Yeah.
That the producer of Castlevania, who is the most famous person on the team, his name is Adi Shankar, and really great guy. I don't mean this in a rude way by any means, but basically he was just a like very wealthy man that just like gives money to things he thinks is dope. But that just happens to be like pretty ambitious, violent interpretations of like past media that he liked. And so the first thing he did before Castlevania was he hired 2 South American illustrators to do a very dark retelling of Judge Dredd's Superfiend. And he hired this band that basically sounds like the Gorillaz to do the whole soundtrack. And they asked him after they got done, they were like, what is your next project? And he was like, someone will let me do Castlevania 3. That's like the next thing. There's no question. So like when that got released, I was like, oh my God, you did it. You fucking Prince. You convinced somebody this was a good idea.
What's even like more amazing about that series so far, and it's so short, it's just like the it's sort of this moral philosophical underpinning within it, and it's like how it kind of it shows the repression from religious organizations, how they kind of put science back, I feel.
Yeah.
And it's like that undertone of things. I really appreciate.
They hate
that.
Science, it seems like.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the Dark Ages. They tried to repress it, you know.
I like that the first things you're introduced to on the show is, one, it shows, without ruining the show at all for those who haven't seen it, it shows who is arguably, or not arguably, objectively your villain, Dracula, in a good light. It shows humanity in a bad light. Then it shows humanity being mean to your main character, and that they will fight anybody that tries to use science. And it's like, you do not want me to root for the good people of this village, you know? Like, they're very disliked. And I think from a Castlevania sense, that feels very accurate to me.
Yeah. The people fighting the monsters are no more liked than the monsters.
Yeah.
And they're really doing it because it's the right thing to do, not because it's like for people they like or appreciate. Yeah.
And like Trevor Belmont, just the concept of like, you know, no one has cared about this man's family or their supposed tales of like, you know, monster hunting for decades now. And he's just a drunk because he has nothing to do.
I love that he was a drunk because it was like Jackie Chan and that scene in the bar where like it was like the drunken master or something like that. It kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah. Oh, Legend of the Drunken Master.
Speaking of who to convince to like do things that are crazy, seems like Netflix is the go-to company to do that for.
Yeah.
You can be like, it's too violent to let anybody watch without 3 sessions of therapy, and they're like, yeah, up the guts a little bit, but we'll take it.
Yeah.
But I feel like that violence is so much a part about like what makes like manga great is that unnecessary like just drenching blood that sprays out of everything. Which is like Kill Bill, essentially. He's just kind of ripping off mangas, but not... he's maybe homaging to them.
Well, Quentin Tarantino's...
We know what he's taking.
Quentin Tarantino's take on Kill Bill was an homage to Westerns. It was an homage to Japanese samurai films. And it really shows for both of them.
Yeah. Pretty blatantly.
My closest friend from high school, he was obsessed with Western films, and I was really into kung fu movies. Not samurai films, obviously, but you'll get where I'm going with this. And one of the ways we became friends is we just switched collections. And it was like, oh man, if you grew up in a time where you were watching like both of these, it would make so much sense to combine them. And that's like Tarantino's whole bit.
Yeah.
Is he basically likes the same movie, but that one from every culture. But yeah. Well, I think that wraps us up time-wise. Good discussions. This is the New Anime Collective Saltcast, and we're out.
Stay salty.